It is being reported that Donald Trump and his transition team are not planning to start the vetting process for any of Donald Trump's nominees for any sort of cabinet level positions until after January 20th. And they've already secured the DOJ and the FBI where they can put people in place to have their people around with doing the FBI background checks. The other plan is normally what would happen is they would do an FBI background check. The person would get an interim clearance, and then they would do a deeper check. And if they cleared the deeper check, it would become permanent. And Donald Trump wants to skip that whole process entirely and just issue full security clearance. Full clearances day one right off the bat, because he does have the authority as president to issue security clearances. Now, he did this his first term as well. There were people that were not advised to get a clearance after thorough background checks, and Donald Trump said issue it anyway. So Donald Trump wants to skirt the process. It's going to be interesting to see how Senate Republicans and congressional Republicans in general feel about them skirting this process and waiting till they have their own people in place, limiting the background check, etc., and see if that comes into play with any of these confirmation hearings, etc. Because we already know, like, certain members of Congress have said they were against the idea of using private companies to do the background checks instead of the FBI. They wanted to go through the normal process, and Donald Trump is pushing against that idea anyway. So we'll see how they play out. But I want to ask a question to Republican voters. You're supposedly the party of law and order. How do you feel about your law and order president going around the traditional FBI background checks, putting in his own people to make sure that they only look into what he says they can look into, with things like that, as well as issuing clearances regardless of what the background check actually says? So we'll see how they handle it going forward. But as I've said with numerous things about Donald Trump and people are in Trump's orbit, if you've got nothing to hide, why are you afraid of getting the background check and doing the FBI background check? Or is it that you know these people have things to hide, and that's what you're fighting against because you know it's going to come out and it's going to make you look bad? Similar to how they're burying the ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz because it knows it makes him look extremely bad, and it makes the Republican Party look bad for putting up with what they knew about Matt Gaetz going in. So, not surprised Donald Trump wants to skirt the security clearance process, and I'm afraid of how many people who shouldn't have access will ultimately be just granted a security clearance because Donald Trump is the president and he can do that.